Hey, everybody, so excited about this segment with Standard Process and Dr. Daina Parent coming to us from the great state of Florida. Doc, we're going to jump right in. How does somebody with this amazing naturopathic background with aesthetics and IV nutrition and hormone health and thyroid and all the different things that you've done in the, let's say, modern, advanced nutritional medicine, if you will, find her way going all the way back to the brilliance and the never failing whole food nutrition, and specifically the OG, as we call it, of whole food nutrition, which is Standard Process, which here at the Cohn Health Institute we've used for 35 years, since the beginning, outside the gate. So talk to us a little bit about the journey to Standard Process.
Yeah, that's a good one. Now, let me tell you, at the very beginning, I was actually built on Standard Process products. So my mom was taking Standard Process before I was even born. So I am maybe one of the original Standard Process children here. Might have been longer than you've actually been using the product. Could be. So yeah, both of my parents are actually chiropractors. I grew up in an environment that raised me to value whole food nutrition. So that's really where my foundation lies. And let me tell you, the selling point was when I went to the farm and saw it with my own eyes. That, you see the farm, you see the beauty and not just the beauty. I mean, Standard Process is really known for, whole food nutrition. I mean, we've been pioneering this research since 1929, Dr. Royal Lee, right? But when you see it and you understand all that goes into supplements, you understand what goes into the supplement bottles, it's really a life-changing experience. And even if you don't use Standard Process for all of your products, I think it should be foundational, found in every single practice.
Well, the history of Royal Lee is tremendous. Obviously a dentist, but has really transformed and really how nutrition is done since the beginning. I believe he was the man credited with coining the word vitamin even, and with the first product, Catalyn, created a whole food supplement, which really launched Standard Process, and the first thing that I ever heard of. Now we have we have hundreds of Standard Process and now Meta Herb products that have come through Standard because of Standard's high standards, if you will. And
Sure.
So I just grabbed a few. Chlorophyll, which is a staple in the clinic. I have Thymus PMG, protomorphogens. Maybe want to touch on that. Standard Process, the only company in the world that does this kind of stuff. And then the brand new Whole Food Folate, which a lot of people talk about, but don't have what we have here at Standard. So what do you want to touch on first? What do you want to speak to? Because there's so many different directions.
Just in what you highlighted there, we could talk for hours on just all of that, right? But let's start at the beginning because, I mentioned the farm, I mentioned this whole food philosophy, you mentioned Dr. Royal Lee and, how he pioneered Catalyn, right? 1929. That was over 95 years ago now. This has quite a history, quite a legacy. But what people don't know, and really what I want to get out there to the world and to healthcare practitioners, I want to share how Standard Process is involved in innovation and nutrition research. Because I think what ends up happening is you think about, a farm and you think about these farming practices and you think it might feel really old school, right? You think of somebody with a shovel, maybe in a field. But the reality is Standard Process is tremendously involved and invested in research. We actually have a facility. It's called the Nutrition Innovation Center. It's on the North Carolina Research Campus, and it's specifically dedicated to looking at those PMG products that you just pointed out. We're looking at the mechanism of action. Those products came out before we knew exactly what they do, the mechanistic approach, right? So we're going backwards a little bit. We have whole food nutrition. We've been using whole food nutrition for almost a century, and now we can look at it from this research perspective, this innovation, this is where we do, preclinical studies. We do, all the way to clinical studies. So at any one point in time, we have about 30 studies that are in the process, anywhere from the pipeline all the way to publication. We were published last month in Frontiers in Science on the purification program. I mean, if you've ever used that in your practice, we have a study now showing that it influences the GI microbiome. We have biomarkers, showing how this influences the microbiome. It's so cool. And so we have a whole facility. We're all about innovation. We're all about, extending to the future and really gaining, HCPs, healthcare practitioners that may have not thought to use standard process in the past.
So I'm glad you talked about that, because a lot of people think, oh, standard process. I heard of them, or my dad or mom took standard process, and people just don't see them always in the public face. I mean, they're not like whoring it out on Instagram and all the things, like all the other stuff. There's not crazy influencers doing kind of things. And, these practitioners like ourselves and the many doctors here, I mean, we have hundreds, if not thousands, of life-changing, tear-jerking stories just on the intervention of a simple standard process product.
Yes.
When you need it, you need it. Like when you need Collinsonia, you needed it. When you needed Spanish black radish, you needed it. And maybe you talk a little bit too about the farm. It's not just a farm. I mean, you have generations of regenerative farming going on there before anyone knew what regenerative farming was. I mean, I got a chance to finally, after 35 years of using these products, go see the farm last year, and it's like that and Royal Lee's library. I mean, I could spend the rest of my life in Royal Lee's library and feel like I know 1% of what I need to know.
Yes, and that's that's a really good place to touch on, because the farm. I mean, again, you think of the farm, you think of maybe these older farming practices. No, that's not standard process. We're all about innovation. We have over 860 organic acres in rural Wisconsin. It's amazing. It's incredible. We use drones to actually take a look to see what's happening in all of these different fields. And you mentioned, this is an organic regenerative farm. We're not using any pesticides, herbicides, fungicides. We're weeding. Now, we're not weeding. We're not putting our people out there and they're not on their hands and knees weeding. We can actually, we have the technology now. We have a piece of farm equipment. You actually plug in the input. This is what you're looking for. This is what the plant looks like. Now, I want you to take out the weeds that are around that plant. And we set it and it goes out in the field and it performs that action. I mean, how cool is that? How, technologically advanced is that? And then you mentioned Royal Lee too, right? I mean, Dr. Royal Lee, an innovator, a pioneer, he had over 100 patents throughout his life. It's incredible, the work that's been done, at standard process, at the farm and the manufacturing facility, and then at the Nutrition Innovation Center.
Yeah, those patents, I mean, again, spent hours talking about all these nutrition companies and really farming practices and extraction methods that we take for granted today happen because of the work of this dentist.
Yes.
Royalty is just absolutely crazy to me, all the different things that he's done and has put together in these processes that and just the standard process. Maybe let's talk about the name for a second. When I first learned it, it was about that standard. Long before anybody was doing this, standard was either the first, if not among the first, probably the first, when we make these tablets or we make these capsules, and these are processed. They're processed in a way where it's never heated above a certain temperature and they're able to do that because of vacuum that's been created. Maybe you could elaborate on this, because this was decades and decades and decades ago, long before anybody knew this was a thing to concern themselves with.
Yeah. Oh, great question. So again, technology, right? you're thinking of standard process, I want you to think of technology. We actually just got a new dryer. So we know that nutrients degrade with heat, right? We know this. And so what we do at standard process, of course, as many crops that we're able to harvest, we harvest them same day, put them on the dryer, same day, take them to the manufacturing facility if possible, because we know that we can't leave these precious, crops out in the heat. It's going to degrade their nutrient content. And that's what standard process has done. We're trying to preserve all of those nutrients. So we've invested in this dryer that uses low heat. It just over time, I mean, you can actually see it if you come to the farm again. We have it so you can actually see these compounds being dried on the dryer. It's all about the preservation, nutrient density, and how do we put these compounds into whole foods. It's not just about what's found on a nutrition label. I think that's a really important point and something that gets missed often because nutrition labels only give parts of the story. Whole food nutrients may not actually be on a nutrition label. So that's we could talk about that for hours because that's all about labeling and regulation, right? But we know that in order to preserve these nutrients, we're using these technological advancements in order to give healthcare practitioners optimal patient outcomes.
Well, that's you keep on bringing up good points. I mean, you look at a label and you look at a supplement label in a store on Amazon somewhere, and you're like, oh my God, it's got all these things in there.
Yep.
It really does it. A lot of those things are dead or not alive to begin with. A lot of them are what we call fairy dusted in, meaning like enough to actually claim that it's in there, but there's no medicinal or clinical value to it. A lot of them have different preservatives, fillers, other things. What we're, like you said, with the protomorphogen is a great example.
Yeah.
People are still awakening to things that have always been in food that they didn't know was a thing. And
Yes.
supplements have become so fractionated that they're really nutraceuticals. They're like nutritional medicines, but they're not what God intended and nature intended, which is this thing that has an immeasurable amount of wisdom in it that we really are only awakening to.
Yes, and you really hit the nail on the head, right? Protomorphogens, it's non-nutritive. You're actually not going to see any nutrient components in that label, on the PMG label. So people look at it and go, this has nothing in it. But that's not true, right? We know that because I'm sure you've seen some good, if not amazing, clinical effects of using those PMGs. But there's bioactives in food, right? We have hormones and sterols, phytonutrients. I mean, that's what's in whole foods. That is whole foods. And all of that together creates this, like you said, this innate wisdom, this synergism that gets lost when you just think more is always better. And that's what our patients are doing, right? They're going to the store, they're looking at this compound, how many billions of bacteria do I need in this probiotic? How much vitamin C do I need? And they're not thinking about where these things are actually coming from.
Absolutely. Well, I will tell you, a lot of people in our world have learned about standard process from our four-legged friends, either our dogs or cats. And you guys have a whole line of specific nutrition that veterinarians use around the world. And it's super cool because, one thing we always say, dogs are the best. Cats are cool too, but, they're the best because, they don't respond to placebo. They not worried if their insurance pays for it. They don't care how much it costs. They don't care if you're running behind at your office. They're just a dog or a cat. And the best thing is, if it's good, they're gonna eat it. And if it's not, they won't. And so, they're not responding to suggestion. They're not doing it because they have an affiliate link with standard process. They're doing it because they know they're better when they eat these things when they don't. Maybe you want to just throw something out about the veterinarian supplements that you guys have that are, again, whole food and not like anybody else's.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So I'll tell you, those animals, those dogs, sometimes the cats, they love those PMG products, right? We do have animal-based products. They love our products. I love what you said on, yeah, absolutely. The vet line, powerful line. Animals don't know, right? We're doing the research on the animals too. So that's just another area. I mean, we're working with veterinarians all across the country to engage in research. We want to know more about, mechanisms. We want to know more about, how these different factors influence biomarkers and, and just some objective experiences. So yeah, a really powerful line. I mean, I think people don't know standard process has many lines associated. We've got standard process, like you said, that's the OG. We have the MediHerb line. We have the veterinary line from standard process. We also have Spirited Paw. That is now our consumer-based veterinary line. We also have the Possible line. That's also our consumer-facing line. But I'm just here to say, standard process, we want to get patients back to practitioners. We're not selling directly to your patients. And we want your patients always to go back to their healthcare practitioners. That's our goal. And that's where we're staying. We're really staying in that space.
Well, you mentioned MediHerb too, which is super cool. And, we've had on our summit here, different speakers and presenters talk about different MediHerb products along with their favorite standard process products. And I was amazed to see the detail that MediHerb has for these standardized amounts of medicinal parts of an herb.
Yes.
That again, when you're looking through stuff on other websites, Instagram, Amazon, anywhere, or even another doctor's office, they can't make those claims that MediHerb does. I mean, I've seen MediHerb go on back order for a year just because they couldn't get it to the quality it deserved, even though everybody else was selling garbage and saying it was the same on the internet, let's say. Maybe you speak to the detail in herbal products like Neurogenics, which you and I were talking about beforehand, which is one of our favorites.
Yes. There is, we don't have enough time to go into the whole quality story with the MediHerb line, but it's very synergistic with the standard process line. MediHerb is using the whole plant, right? They're using the plant part, of course, that, confers that medicinal action, but they're not just pulling out bits and pieces of it. They're using the whole plant and then standardizing it to those standardized extracts, right? So you have the withanolides in the, you've got withanolides, you've got the curcuminoids, and we're standardizing them, and it's such a quality story, such a high. I just tell people it's an impactful product, so it will do something, and they're like shocked when it does something, and they're like, whoa, this is a strong product. I'm like, yeah, I told you that. This is what all herbs should be, but that's not what it is in the marketplace. So you need to make sure that your patients are having, good clinical outcomes and an experience, because herbs are really meant to be experienced.
Well, we always tell people that they've never had an herb until they've had standard process MediHerb Echinacea liquid.
That's it. That's the one.
That's the one. That's the one that breaks you in. If you ever want to taste like what an herb really tastes like, the way God intended it, there's your product right there. So
yes, and I'll tell you, I've been to some shows where there's a vendor down the road. They have an echinacea product too, right? Everyone has an echinacea product, and they'll come over and I'll give them a shot of our echinacea liquid, and I'll say, how does that compare with some of these other products that are here today? And they say, I had somebody that almost like they were just. I had to go get them water. It was kind of intense, but it is a powerful, powerful product. The alkylamides, they give you that tingling numbness, and it is a true testament to the MediHerb quality.
It's great. Yeah, not the meek, only those who are serious about their herbs. So, Doc, what do we have to look forward to in the future of standard process?
Yeah, let me first, I want to tell you what we have on the market right now. That's brand new. So exciting. One of my favorite products just came out a couple months ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, but Whole Food Folate. It is something no other company, there it is right there. No other company has this product, and let me tell you why. There's no synthetics in it, okay? There are no synthetics in this product. It is strictly whole food folate. Folate coming from whole foods. And like you mentioned, I mean, this is the way nature intended, right? Folate comes from, it's actually derived from folium, meaning leaf. It's found in really high concentrations in turnip greens and collard greens, which we just happen to grow on our regenerative farm in Wisconsin. Golden chlorella actually provides the folate content as well as vegetarian source of vitamin B12. And in this product, the only other ingredient is honey. And that's used for tableting purposes. We had to find something to bind it all and keep it all together. So a really exciting, powerful product. And it's actually in some clinical studies right now. We're looking at how does whole food folate influence, red blood cell folate and homocysteine metabolism. We know it does. It's in studies. We're going to have that study, probably by next year. But we already know that, clinicians want this information. We want to give that to you.
I love it. I love it. Well, guys, whole food folate. It's a tongue twister, but it's great. We're loving it here. We've had it for a short period of time, but we're loving it. I can't imagine practicing without standard process. They clearly make things nobody else makes and nobody else can make. So it's a forever product line here at the Cohn Health Institute. So any final words about standard process you want to share with us? Doc?
You know what? I do. I just thought of something.
Yeah.
We also have, I'm part of the education team at Standard Process. We have clinical protocols. People don't know that. Just letting you know, we have written over 50 clinical protocols to help support your patients, help support your practice. If you're new to the line, we know it can feel a little bit overwhelming with that rich history. We have over 300 products in our line. So make sure you have a Standard Process account, and you can look at all those clinical protocols. You can look at the balanced methylation capacity and healthy blood building clinical protocols. That's really where you'll find that whole food folate. And also, we have another resource for you. I am actually the host of a podcast. It's on Holistic Matters, so holistic with a W, and we talk about all things nutrition. Have your patients go to the website. Standard Process really will not be a part of that website. It's unbranded, but it's there to support you and your patients in all things whole food nutrition. So make sure you get the word out there, Holistic Matters, and then check out our new clinical clinical protocols.
I love it. And again, to sum that last part up, if someone's hearing about standard for the first time, the first thing you would have them look at is what?
The first thing I would have them look at, probably just look at the website. That's a great place to start. Look at the rich history. And you know what? We're here to support you. Education at standardprocess.com. If you have any questions, we are here. I'm actually behind that email, and I help answer clinical questions all the time. So we want to support you. Check out the website first, and then email us if you have any questions. We're here to help you.
Dr. Daina Parent, Standard Process. The future looks bright. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.